If you have ADHD and you struggle with sensory issues, you need to watch this video. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hi, I'm Simon, and today we are talking about ADHD and sensory issues. Have you ever been irritated by an itchy tag or someone chewing? Maybe you've been unable to ignore these feelings once you feel them. That gives you a small glimpse into the experience of people with sensory overload, also sometimes called sensory processing disorder. Sensory overload can make it difficult for people to function if they become overwhelmed by senses such as touch or hearing. The condition is known to be closely related to autism, but research has shown that sensory overload and ADHD can go closely hand in hand. ADHD and sensory overload. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects around 11% of school kids. ADHD can cause symptoms such as trouble sitting still, difficulty paying attention, or impulse behavior. It's estimated that 2/3 of children with ADHD continue to experience symptoms as an adult. Research has shown that children with ADHD have trouble processing sensory stimulations from the outside world. Children with ADHD tend to be over-responsive to such stimulation such as bright lights, strong smells, loud sounds, and even certain physical sensations which cause them to experience sensory overload. A few symptoms of ADHD can make sensory overwhelm worse and result in total sensory overload. This might look like lack of self-regulation. People with ADHD often struggle to regulate their emotions or reactions. Because of that, a sensation that is a minor irritation to non-ADHDers can result in an outburst for ADHDers. Trouble with transitions. ADHDers often struggle with transition, which is also known as trouble with flexible thinking. This can cause people to fixate on an uncomfortable situation and have trouble turning their attention elsewhere. ADHDers are sometimes distracted, disorganized, or rushed. This can lead to sensory overload when they encounter a situation they don't like an itchy coat for example, but are unable to remedy it quickly. Symptoms of sensory overload. Some people with sensory overload underreact to some stimuli, which can cause them to seek more intense forms of stimulation, but most commonly, particularly in ADHDers, this disorder can cause hypersensitivity to sensory information. This can present itself differently in different people, but some common symptoms include picky eating habits, trouble settling down after activities, sensitivity to sound and smells, dislike to certain fabrics or shoes, discomfort with some movements like swinging or using an elevator. Now these symptoms may seem minor, but they can be severe enough to fuck up an ADHDer's day-to-day functioning. In severe cases, sensory overload can lead to nutritional deficiencies or missing school, so it's really important to address the symptoms. So what are the causes of overstimulation in ADHDers? People with sensory overload can be overwhelmed by any of the 5 senses that most people are familiar with: touch, taste, sight, sound, or smell. They can also have trouble processing or be easily overwhelmed by other senses like vestibular, which is head movements, and interoception, which are internal sensations such as hunger, the cold, or being thirsty. ADHDers are more likely to be overwhelmed by sensory input by any of these areas than non-ADHDers. Common triggers in overstimulation in ADHDers include the texture of certain foods, body washes, or fabrics can overwhelm ADHDers. This one is the most common sensory overloads for children with ADHD, and girls may be in particular risk. The way certain clothes or shoes fit can be frustrating and overwhelming, particularly for kids. Others may feel overwhelmed by car seats or bed sheets. Some ADHDers are sensitive to certain tastes, although food aversions are more commonly caused by texture. Loud noises like fire alarms, or even subtle noises like someone chewing gum, can cause stress. People with sensory overload might be especially sensitive to smells, even those that are meant to be pleasant, like perfume or food cooking. Visual stimulation can sometimes cause too much stimulation. ADHD is treated with a combination of medication and behavioral interventions. Treatment for sensory overload can be integrated into this. The best treatment for sensory overload: sensory integration therapy, which can be incorporated into physical or occupational therapy. Under this therapy, a person is exposed to sensory stimuli and learns how to respond appropriately. If you're trying to address sensory processing and ADHD for yourself or someone you know, try these steps. Sensory overload is common in children with ADHD, and your healthcare provider might have strategies to suggest. Keep a diary to help identify the triggers of things that often overwhelm yourself or your child, and where reasonable, try to avoid these things. Help yourself or your child by learning how to calm down once they've become overwhelmed. This can be difficult for ADHDers, so you might need to work with an experienced therapist. A routine can help with predictability and mitigate ADHD symptoms, like disorganization and troubles with transitions, giving more resources to cope with ADHD. Find the tricks like painting, exercise, or meditation that can help you or your child regulate their reactions and sensory input. Okay, to summarize, many people are aware of the connection between sensory overload and autism, but fewer people know that ADHD and sensory overload often occur together. Sensory overload is not just a quirk of ADHDers, it is a real condition in brain differences. Speak with your healthcare provider and therapists about interventions that can help with sensory overload. Okay guys, that's the video. If you found it at all helpful, or you know someone that it might help, feel free to share that or share this video. Give it a like and make sure you subscribe to see future videos. Okay, I love you, bye. Some people will, with what? Some people will, fuck. Some people, that is the fourth time. People with, what? People will what? What are we talking about?